Please welcome to the podcast, a very special guest. He's had quite the pro career so far, also a local Cambridge boy, Jake Dotchin. How's it going, man?
It's going. 2020 isn't exactly ideal here, but it's going.
For sure.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so currently, how's everything going? Obviously, next season's quite the question mark. Like the AHL is going to go, even NHL doesn't really know what's going on. So, what have you heard, and how's it been mentally for you? Because it's been pretty tough for a lot of the guys we've had on, and me myself, it's been pretty tough mentally.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess it's a tough answer. It's in some ways I'm very fortunate to have, had the years pro that I've had under my belt, and, that set me up financially just to be all right and, comfortable in the situation we're going through right now. So, it's a bit stressful and whatnot, just the unknown, but at the same time, through all that, trying to look at positives, I get to spend some extra time with my wife, and she's pregnant right now, due in January. So, just get to spend that extra time and be around for that, this part of the pregnancy, which half of the month I would have been gone for usually had it been a normal season. So, it's definitely a strange year. It's weird. I would have much rather have been playing right now, but, blessing in disguise, I guess, for being able to be here throughout the whole pregnancy and, experience that and be able to be here for my daughter when she comes. And, like I said, it's a shitty year, or a bad year, but at the same time, it's somewhat a little blessing for me, I guess.
For sure. Yeah. It's definitely a unique experience, right? Like spending way more time than you would have ever with family or stuff like that. And even like talking to Matt, like you've been working with him at Snipe Academy. How's that going?
Yeah, it's good. I grew up, like Matt said, grew up in Cambridge, small town just outside Cambridge called Glen Morris. And I actually had Nate Harrington, who runs Snipe there, has a big role in Snipe. He was my coach growing up in AAA hockey in Cambridge. So, he actually sent me a message and wanted to know if I knew anybody that would have been interested in the role, and just so happened to be right timing that, hockey wasn't on schedule and I was getting bored at home. So I said I'd come out, and
for sure
it just keeps trickling from there. So
awesome.
What was your minor hockey experience like in Cambridge?
Growing up, as you get older, you look back on your younger years and, whether that was junior B or minor hockey, and going through those times, you always want the next best thing, or even right now, right? Like, I want the next best thing. What's going to be the next thing for me? But, looking back on it, it was awesome. Hockey was a blast. Not that it's not now, but, it's more of a job now. So just like everybody's job, it wears on you a bit at times. And, luckily I enjoy going into the rink every day and being able to put my skates on and do what I do. So
exactly.
Like I said, Cambridge was what, kind of rounded me into the player I am now and kind of put me in the direction, and I wouldn't change it for the world.
So you went through the OHL draft, and this is a common question we have. And you went, what was that, 2010-ish? 2010, yeah. 2010 draft, is that right?
I think so. Around there, sure, yeah.
Okay, around there. So we don't really know if you're ranked highly in minor midget or whatever, but how was that whole day for you? Were you expecting to go somewhere, and how did it end up going?
It was, awesome day. It's a day I'll remember, for the rest of my life. I was with my old man, and actually another Cambridge boy I played hockey with at the time, Corey Genovese, and his dad out on the golf course, and didn't even pay attention to the draft. We were out on the course early, and I forget what time the draft started, but I think we ended up getting home for my pick, and we walked in and it was like boom, boom, basically. Like, couldn't have worked out any better. But yeah, I mean, kind of leads into the NHL draft too, but just being able to spend that time with your family and loved ones, close people to you, and share those moments and, you know, those life goals, it was pretty special. And you know, looking back at it now, that was just the start of it all, but definitely something that I'll remember.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's such a big stepping stone for sure. And like the age that you're at too, you feel like you're like on the top of the world a bit, right? So that
for sure. There's cool. Definitely like you're walking around. I didn't even make the OHL my first year, and I just remember being at school and thinking, oh yeah, I'm an OHL guy now and all that.
What school did you go to?
At the time I was drafted, I actually was at Southwood because I played hockey there for literally one semester, but then I went back to Paris the following year. So
Paris, okay. We all go. We're right by Glen Morris.
Oh yeah, you guys are right there, right near Duncan Mac.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a good. I like that side of Cambridge. I mean, I grew up there, had a lot of buddies on that side, so
yeah,
it's good.
Yeah, for sure. So then you ended up playing Cambridge Winterhawks 16-year-old year. That's something we've had a couple guests who played in Cambridge 16-year-old year recently. Nolan Forster last year and Ben McFarland the year before, and they both played for the Storm. They've been on the podcast before. How awesome was that? That was back when it was the Winterhawks, obviously. Obviously, you want to play in the OHL, but how awesome was that experience playing in Cambridge? They got such a good fan base.
Yeah, I mean, I tell this story actually quite a bit, I feel. But, you know, I was 16 years old. I was drafted by Owen Sound. I went to Owen Sound to their training camp. Thought I had a really good camp. But that was the year that Owen Sound ended up winning the OHL. So they were stacked with talent. They made trades, like, so anyways, I thought I had a good camp. Go in, see the GM. He said to me, you know, we could keep you as a 7th, 6th guy, but we want you to go get your playing time. And I remember that was the first like hockey team that I was cut from, so I was devastated. Like, remember walking out of the rink just thinking like, what the heck just happened, all that. Like, didn't really know what was next. The only thing I knew for sure was I was coming back to Cambridge, and that year that I was with Cambridge, I didn't necessarily want to be there because we weren't a great team, but you know, that was my home center, and I think they've changed the rules a bit now, but I couldn't get a release from Cambridge back then, and
oh really?
I wanted to go to Elmira, but anyways, it didn't work out. I ended up playing for Cambridge. Grew up like playing minor hockey there, so always Saturday night or whatever, you'd go check out the Winterhawks game. So it was pretty cool still being a part of that. And although we weren't great, you know, being down at Galt Arena on a Saturday night at 7 with a decent crowd in there was pretty cool for sure. But looking back on all that too, if I hadn't have come back to Cambridge, I don't think I would have developed the way that I did. And, you know, I got a lot of ice time, a lot of playing minutes, played against the top lines in Junior B. And, you know, that next year when I went back to Owen Sound, I felt more confident mentally, physically. I felt stronger as a person, felt just more confident in my game, and went back and felt different as a player. And just stemming from that confidence, it you know, helped me make the team that second year.
Yeah, that's always the best thing. Like if you, for me, like playing in passports, if you have that confidence, like your skills just back it up, right? And like it seems like you're probably stuck, but that's probably, you know, like the best thing. Like even like when I went to like the Winterhawks games, like it's just such a big, like the Galt Arena, like good atmosphere. So I'm sure it turned out to be pretty good.
For sure. One of the best in Junior B, buddy.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. It's definitely known.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, for sure it is.
So you end up going to Owen Sound and you play that year, and then you get drafted by Tampa Bay in 6th round. And that must be a huge deal. And we have a lot of questions about that, but what I want to know is, like, how quick does that happen? 2 years later, you get drafted to the OHL. 2 years later, it's the NHL draft.
Yeah, it was pretty quick, to be honest, because you get into that first year, and like I said, I didn't make it my 16-year-old year, so I'm in my rookie year as a 17-year-old, all of a sudden in my draft year, so it's definitely a quick jump, and I mean, unless you're that natural first-round skill, you're not getting that 2 years of exposure, so, it's a bit of taking a risk, I guess, in the 6th round at that point when they picked me, but also, I guess, having some scouts that you trust for those late round picks. And I remember that NHL draft, just like the OHL draft, it was family, friends, close, everybody there that I wanted there, and knew I wasn't going in the first round, but we went and watched the first round in the arena and whatnot. I suited up just in case, never know.
Yeah.
So we were there watching, didn't happen. Go back, had a couple beers with my dad actually that night to calm the nerves a bit, and woke up the next morning. I think the second round started at 9 or 10 a.m. So we were sitting there for a good chunk of the day, and I had talked to Tampa Bay and a couple other teams. I honestly thought if I was to put money on it, it was going to be Pittsburgh, where after all my interviews and everything, that's where I was confident. And, Pittsburgh went by in the 4th and 5th round, and I had talked with Tampa a few times, but I was more confident in Pittsburgh and came to Tampa in the 6th. And I just remember hearing from the Owen Sound attack, and then it went all just a big blur. My next thought, I'm hugging my family, and my mom's crying. I'm trying to not cry because she's crying. And then I'm walking down to the arena floor just thinking, don't trip down the stairs. And it's crazy that at that moment, that was my biggest concern, So, it was, like I said before, it's a day I'll remember for the rest of my life, and a day that I'm sure my family will remember too. And as much as that day was about me and whatnot, it was an awesome day for my parents also. They've been through the ride with it through the whole way with me, and for them to be able to experience that also, it was pretty special. So
oh yeah, hard work. Yeah, the hard work you put in definitely must have paid off, right? So
yeah, no doubt.
That's awesome.
So one quick question. Sorry, Keith. What was something, and this is something we haven't really asked, what was something on draft day or in the whole NHL draft process that you did not expect to happen that kind of caught you by surprise?
Oh.
I know it's a bit of a tricky question.
Yeah, that's a good one. I don't know. I guess the biggest surprise to me, once I went down to the arena floor, I did some pictures and some media scrums, and I talked with Steve Yzerman, shook his hand as soon as I went down to get my jersey, and kind of everybody around the table, and they were great to me, and once I was done all that media stuff, all the pictures and whatnot, there's a girl leading me upstairs, saying my family's going to be upstairs waiting in Tampa's box and whatnot. So once I got up there was, a few draft picks that their families are up there too, in their certain boxes with their teams. And I walked in, and my dad had a beer and in this box, and, we met a couple more people through management and whatnot. And he was just sitting there having a beer with Pat Verbeek, and I walked in. I'm like, well, holy shit! Like, I can't have a beer right now. Like, these are the guys I'm going to be working for. Hopefully, I can't be drinking in front of them. Was 18 years old, and I don't know. So that was probably the biggest surprise, just me poking in and seeing Pat Verbeek and a couple of the management just having a beer with my dad, shooting the shit. So that was, I guess, the biggest surprise of it all, other than, actually being drafted.
Yeah, fair enough.
Glad I asked that question.
Yeah. And Tampa's I know we wanted to touch on this too, but Tampa wasn't just a regular old team. They just won the past year as well, the NHL Cup. So what was it like having such a stacked team to look forward to?
Yeah,
and there was a bunch of big names.
It was good for sure. When I was first drafted there, they weren't I was with the organization when they ended up losing to Chicago in the playoffs the first time to the Cup final. And then it was maybe the next year or the year after that I kind of made my entrance. But it was pretty cool. Like I said, that first person I got to meet was Steve Yzerman. Grew up watching him, so to be able to shake his hand and meet him, and that was pretty special. And then, like you said, the list just went on from there. Steve, Stamkos was there, Palat, Johnson, Hedman. They've grown a bit since I was drafted for sure, and added some pretty big pieces. Braden Point came after me. Pointer's awesome. We basically grew up in the system together. He was in Syracuse for, I don't know, half a year maybe, but we hit it off pretty good, and we're still pretty good buddies to today. So, but yeah, it was, once I made and cracked the lineup, it was, I got called up. I remember I was called up, and I had to go to Arizona, and we played in Syracuse that day. So I had to take the red eye to Anaheim that night, and they were in Anaheim. My first game was in Arizona, but they were in Anaheim. I went to Anaheim, took warm up that first night, but ended up being scratched. And then 2 games later is when I played in Arizona, and it was just a whirlwind. I go from being there, getting scratched, thinking I'm going to be sent back down in a couple days when Jason Garrison got over his sickness.
Yeah.
Getting in the lineup, playing well, getting a second game in Chicago, playing really well, and then getting another game in Florida, and Strawman ended up being injured for a couple shifts, and I played with Hedman, and they didn't change it for a year and a half later after that. So it's crazy how things work and how you run with them. But, it was, for sure, it was pretty cool. The star-studded lineup, like you said, coming into it. But once you get playing and stuff, they're just other guys out there playing the same game you're playing. So
that's pretty cool.
It is cool. It was cool. I mean, I still to today think Stammer is pretty freaking good at hockey, So I did what I could with him and took the knowledge I could, I guess, from him, and still doesn't go into my game today, but we work on it.
No, I had to touch on, you're talking about, you're taking flights and all that. How did you find the traveling, like at the very start?
For sure, I don't know. It's nice because obviously you got the, your jet as a team, and it's just you guys on there. And, playing in the American League, I've played in San Diego, where you fly basically everywhere except for Ontario. I've played in Texas, where you fly everywhere except for playing against Austin, Texas, which is the Stars team. And I've played in Syracuse, where you bus everywhere. So
right.
Syracuse is more like the OHL, where it's a bit tougher because you're grinding out the bus hours, but it's nice because you're in right after the game, you get in the bus and you go home, or you get in the bus and you go somewhere else. You don't need to stay and wait for the next morning, get up early, catch a flight.
Exactly.
So that kind of, I say to people for the American League, I would much rather prefer being in the East than the West. Flying is nicer, it's quicker, but I hate traveling for flying.
Yeah.
But all that being said, the NHL, it's a complete different ballgame. Your bus takes you right to the bottom of the steps. You walk right up into the plane, right like barely touch the tarmac. Walk right onto the plane. You got a freaking buffet of finger food waiting on your way back to your seat. Once you're about ready to take off, the flight attendants clean all that up, and then they hand you a menu of like 3 different kinds of main course meals that are usually like pretty tasty for plane food. And then you have a couple beers on the plane or a glass of wine or whatever you want. I'm a big Sprite guy sometimes, so a nice Sprite quenches the thirst,
There you go.
But all that being said too, you're in like a lazy boy chair in the plane.
Yeah.
You get there the night before most times, so maybe you get there at 2:33 in the morning, but you're in a bed that night, still waking up like a normal next day to go play a game. So travel's definitely easier in the NHL, although you're switching time zones and stuff, but
yeah,
it's just way easier on your body and the travel, and it's way better.
Makes sense. Yeah.
Sounds like a dream. Yeah.
It definitely is a dream. It was everything I thought it would be, for sure. So.
Mm-hmm. And your first year in the AHL, there's a couple with we want to see, like, how hard was it for you to adjust? Was it that an easy jump for you? Was that a difficult jump for you? But you also had some pretty cool names like Jonathan Marchessault. I don't know, I might have butchered that name. Nemestikov and Yanni Gordon. Obviously, Marchessault. Is that how you say it? Marchessault?
Yeah, Marchessault.
He's had quite the success with Vegas and stuff. So what's it like seeing him move on? But then what's it like jumping into some pretty big names in your first year in the AHL, and how hard of adjustment is that?
Yeah, it was. I don't know. It was a little. It was tough. It was different. I went from living with a billet, basically being took care of anything I needed, I got given to me basically, to anything I needed, I now needed to go do myself. Mm-hmm. So as far as the on-ice stuff, I would say, that stuff always, when you get to a new level, it takes a couple practices, a couple games to feel more comfortable and whatnot. So I would say that part of it was normal in the transition. I'd say the biggest part of it for me was getting to live on my own. And, I still had roommates, but we were three 19 going on to 20-year-old boys that, first time living together or away from, I guess, grown-ups,
Yeah.
We had to plan our own meals and make our own food, kind of own pre-games, all that stuff, all that little stuff that you kind of take for granted until you got to do it yourself. And I'd say that it was more of the off-ice part of the transition that was tougher for me. The game itself, it's like I said, once you get out there, you just turn into a hockey player, right? You adapt, and if it's quicker, you pick up the pace a bit and have a bit quicker shifts and whatnot until you get more comfortable, like I said. So the biggest thing for me was definitely the off ice. But I will say the transition on ice was easier to the NHL than it was from the OHL to the AHL.
Oh, okay.
It was easier transition from the AHL to the NHL, just for the fact that, guys were always where they needed to be.
Yeah.
I took going back for a puck, like the guy dumps a puck on me. I know my centerman or my D they're always talking to me for one.
Mm-hmm.
And I know my D's either calling for a bump behind the net or my center's calling for like a soft pocket just behind that guy and he'll skate into it type thing. So I'd go in, I'd take a quick look, I'd see that my two guys were behind me or they weren't. And then then I'd make my decision there, right? I don't even have the puck yet. My decision's made.
Yeah.
Quick little dump pass, like to the side of us, center skates in. It looks beautiful breakout, but it was just so easy, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
just
guys are just where they need to be and everything like that. If someone's out of position, they're getting in shit, right? It's not everybody. It's that one guy. So
yeah, exactly.
your first 2 seasons, you had 114 and 120 PIMs in the AHL. And was that something you were trying to do, making it your game, and were you fighting a lot then, or?
Oh yeah, I was kind of dumb back then, to be honest. I actually had my first full season in the NHL, it kind of set me back. I had a fight against Michael Haley, and he was, he's not a very big guy by any means, but he's so technically sound and has fought so many times, like knows the little. When I go to throw, it's all the little weird stuff that he's technically so good about.
Yeah.
And I'm more of like a guy that I like to do it to either fire the boys up for the right reasons, or, maybe we're getting beat up pretty bad on the scoreboard. They're taking it to us in the game, whatever the reason. I don't go out and look for it and be like, hey, like, let's go off the draw type stuff. But, I'll get angry or whatever. And usually my mind takes me places. So yeah, that fight against Haley, he knocked me out. I don't think he knocked me out fully, but I was seeing stars for sure, and just white room. And we were playing in Florida at the time, so that kind of set me back. But those first couple years in the AHL, our coach at the time, he was a big used to play Rob Zettler, and he was a rugged D-man in his day. So he loved the way I played, and just that rookie guy, I was trying to make a name for myself, and also, trying to be a good teammate a lot too. And, it just for, how much I fought, I didn't mean for it to be this way, but it built relationships through the organization and my teammates like crazy, and they loved it. So, I knew they loved it, so I loved it, so I kept doing it. And
for sure.
Like I said, I was never out there and squared up with a guy, let's go. I have, but it takes, I got to be pretty pissed off to do that, and not overthinking and all that stuff. There's a time and place, I guess I should say. So, yeah.
Cool. Yeah, I'm sure it definitely builds character too, right? Fighting's always a controversial kind of topic in hockey. Like, some people have different views on it, but I feel like if, it can benefit if, you do it if it benefits your team, and sometimes it puts yourself in a higher position too, because you're such a physical player, right? So.
Yeah, exactly. And a big thing, John Cooper loved it too. So
yeah,
I mean, if I didn't have those types of seasons leading up to that third year when they called me up, I don't know if I would have got called up, because there was my 2 roommates. We all played in the OHL, all came into the league at the same time. One was Tampa's first rounder. My other roommate was their second rounder, and I was the 6th rounder. So they should technically be getting called up before me, and Cuckoo did. But Blue just should have technically been up before me. And, I thought we played pretty similar ways, but I had that edge and he didn't. And I still think that was the reason they gave me the call, so.
Cool.
It just depends, and it could have been different, right? If they needed a more skilled D-man, then maybe it was Blue just that got the call, right? Yeah. So everything happens for a reason, I guess.
For sure. Absolutely.
Sure. And so we've been asking about a lot of names, but I have to ask, just because obviously they just won the Cup and talked about Cooper, but also you're jumping in the NHL and you're playing with Kucherov, Stamkos, Drouin, Point, Hedman, 2-3 years before they end up winning the Cup. But Tampa Bay's been a solid team for 5 years now. And how was it hard not to get starstruck at the start?
For sure. I told that story about going to Anaheim. I ended up getting in at I want to say 3 a.m. Pacific time to my hotel, and pretty sweet. It was my own room, and when you're in the American League, you're sharing with a roommate, so that was another perk to the NHL. But I remember waking up that next morning, and we had you have your breakfast down in the lobby and in a little meeting room and whatnot, and we had a little video meeting after breakfast. So I'm like pacing around my room, like, and I've met these boys before, right? Like at camp and whatnot, but never in season and never as a team like this. So I was pacing back and forth in my room, like, just get down there.
It must be so nerve-wracking.
It was for sure. And, again, I think I was in my head a bit more because, like once you get to know the guys and whatnot, you know how they're thinking with new guys and whatnot, right? So I was definitely overthinking it, but I was definitely pacing in my room. Like, took me a few minutes to finally gear up and head downstairs. And once I did, I remember maybe that first week in the NHL, I would talk on my phone, and that was the only time I'd talk. So it was definitely a bit nerve-wracking, but at the same time, you're there to play hockey. And once you get on the ice and you're playing, all those guys and, how good they are and their stardom and all that, it disappears because you're battling in the same 200-foot sheet of ice that they are, and they got to get around me to put the puck in the net. So
yeah, I'm sure just realize
I looked at it.
Realize there's people too, right? Like you just get comfortable. And so
exactly.
I have to ask is how was your first experience getting a goal in the NHL? How we're slowly wrapping up here, but that's one of the questions we have to bang out. How was like the feeling, your mindset afterwards, and like how did that prove
the emotions?
Yeah, it was pretty one of those days again that I'm going to remember for the rest of my life. We were on a West Coast road swing, so that was pretty cool on its own because, like I said, when I got called up, they were at the end of their Western swing. So they were in Anaheim where I got scratched, and then in Phoenix where I played. But this time I got to go actually play in, San Jose, LA, Anaheim, Arizona, Vegas, all that. So we were on that trip, and so that was pretty cool alone just to be on that trip, seeing California and whatnot. And I think it was the first game of the trip in San Jose we were. And, it was a 10 o'clock game, so I'm thinking, like, my parents aren't going to be able to watch. Like, not many people are going to be watching this one. Whatever, like, just go out, have a good game. I ended up playing really well that night, but I remember just we were all over them that night too, but we were up 1-0, I think. I could be completely wrong about the score too. It could have been 0-0, but we were buzzing on a shift, and it was Point, Gord, and I think Palat, and they were working a really good cycle and generating some good shots and whatnot. And so, like I said, they were having a good down-low shift, so that started drawing the wingers covering the D down a bit more into the slot because of how much they were, penetrating the slot and getting it to the net. So anyways, all the guys claps. There's like not a scramble in front, but everybody seems to be in front, and then it moves corner to corner, so everybody shifts. I ended up walking in, and a pass came out, but kind of was made to go cross ice, but hit a guy and came right to me.
Yeah.
And I was just walking down at the perfect time, and usually I don't pick spots, and I just shoot it as hard as I can. But this one, for whatever reason, I was thinking just hit it as hard as you can and keep it on the ice. And I got all of it. And I remember it sliding 5-hole on Jones. And
oh, no way.
Went and jumped into the glass, and Pointer and Palat, Hedman and Gordo all came up and were freaking face washing me and giving me wet willies, doing whatever they could. It was pretty sweet for sure. I ended up getting like player of the game for our like little team award there that night and everything. And night to remember for sure.
That's pretty cool.
And we heard you had a pretty good rookie party, and we you had to spend some dough on that too.
I did. We were lucky. Well, I was lucky enough as well with the other rookies that were rookies when I was a rookie, that we got to have our party in Vegas, and we had a pretty good time. We played in Colorado, and it was like a Saturday night, I think, in Colorado, and it was a 6 o'clock start, weird time start. I don't know why it was, but Vegas was an hour behind their time. So we played Colorado, ended up winning in overtime. Jumped right on the flight, went right to Vegas. I think it was like a 50-minute flight. Got to Vegas, jumped on the bus, went right to our hotel. And from there, you know, Stammer said to everybody, you know, 20, 25 minutes, be in the lobby. We're going to go do what we're doing. So everyone's meeting in the lobby. We jump on, like, it's a party bus, but not like really a party bus. Like it was, but it didn't have like all the Bud Light and beers, all that stuff on it.
Yeah.
It was a short ride. So it was just our ride to the casino club we went to. I can't remember what one it was called, but we went in actually and go into this big like cathedral room, and then 10 minutes later, like not even, like we had beers and stuff waiting, so we go in and start having some beers and sitting around talking, and then 10 minutes later, like this huge cloud of like smoke comes down from the ceiling, and like all these like flashing lights and shit start going, and Chainsmokers starts playing, and everyone in this room, cathedral room, starts going nuts. And it was pretty cool party for sure. I remember getting home, I think at like 6 a.m. that next morning, and thinking it was maybe like 2 o'clock still in the morning, like just pumping us full of oxygen that we weren't feeling it. So, but it was good. It was a 2-nighter rookie party. So the second night we went and did the dinner portion of it.
Nice.
And that's when, we had to pay some money for our rookie dues, and everyone does it. So it was just my year to do it.
There you go.
Yeah, that's a pretty good story.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
The whole time you're like, this is the NHL.
Yeah, it was like it's I wish I could share all the stuff, but
no, definitely we understand.
Yeah.
So ending up in San Antonio last year, there's always something going on there too. And I know Matt mentioned with the Spittin' Chicklets guys too, they mention a lot of time that San Antonio is a really cool place to play for the AHL.
Yeah, I mean, it's unfortunate, you know, that they sold and moved now, and that they're no longer, because it was such a good spot in the AHL, one of the better cities, I'd say, to travel. But yeah, Texas was awesome. I loved it. I'm a big country music fan, so you know I got down in Texas and brought my cowboy boots with me, and you know I had some good Southern fun, and it was good. There was, you know, it's just, I don't know, it's America compared to here, I guess, but just the things they have going on, right? Like they had the rodeo going on in San Antonio, and every night there was like a known singer performing, and throughout the day they had a bunch of like bull riding, a bunch of like little rodeo things going on that was awesome to check out.
That'd be sick.
You know, I was lucky enough to play in Tampa and San Diego, so San Antonio was just another warm place for me, but being able to golf when I wanted, that was awesome again. And then honestly, like just from playing in Canada, like battling the years in the OHL and, you know, even the few years in Syracuse, just to be in that warm weather and, you know, where the sun's shining rather than it's gray outside, you know, it just brings you that much more. Like you just feel alive, I guess, more. You know, like you feel like it's summertime and you're ready to go do things rather than I got to do this today, or you know, whatever. So it was more enjoyable for that for sure. And you know, the patio beers are never bad.
So last question, wrapping up, is what's your future like? What's next for you? Obviously, you got your daughter coming, which is awesome. Congratulations on that. But hockey-wise, what's next, and what are you looking to do? What are you looking to get better at?
Well, I don't know what's really next. Sorry if there's a little echo here. I had to plug my phone in, but
all good.
I'm not too sure what's next. You know, I've been sniffing around Europe a bit, seeing if there's, you know, what there is there. And there's been a few things that, you know, have kind of sparked some interest to me, but, you know, again, with the kid coming, it's just such a weird year for things and whatnot. So the immediate future, I don't know what's going to happen. You know, I do think I'm going to be playing hockey still. Where I couldn't tell you. Mm-hmm. But you know, although I want to figure out hockey and, you know, get that unknown feeling into a known feeling type thing. Also, you know, as much as this should be hindering my mind and stuff, it's not right now because I have my daughter on my way, and you know, that's the main goal. And it's been nice because I've been able to be here, but also be able to experience kind of every step of it too and whatnot. So, you know, that's my focus right now. And until something comes along, and I think something will, but you know, hockey needs to get back on track itself right now. So until then, we'll see. And until then, we'll keep working at Snipe. And if the Sens get going again, I'll start teaching mules a lesson or two.
Well, thanks so much for coming on. Good luck with your daughter, and we're all rooting for you here.
Hey, I appreciate it, boys. Thanks for having me, and keep doing what you fellas are doing.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Really good to talk
Thanks
to you.
again.
All right, fellas. Take care.
Yeah, you too. See you later.
Thanks, Dodge.